Bom dia a todos vocês. Espero que você tenha um ótimo dia. Good morning, everybody. This is your man Larry, American Brazilian, saying I hope everybody's having a great day thus far. Just wanted to talk a little bit about my thoughts on the election, the whole electoral process. What does it mean to me? What do I think about it? Yada, yada, yada. And I'll be as brief as I possibly can. In any event, let me just start by saying, since I was old enough to recognize or pay attention to the process of voting, there are a few talking points that I think that I've heard ad nauseum. This is the most important election of our time. The future of our country is weighing in the balance, and the outcome of this election could either build up or destroy our country in a way that is irreparable. Things like that, right? A lot of fear-based talking points. And I understand that, I think people who do marketing, people who create these campaigns, they understand that if I can get it into your eyes and your ears, I can change the way you think. And if you can see me enough, then I might be able to dissuade you if you're deciding to vote for somebody else to come on my side. But anyway, I was looking at and I don't pay attention to it a lot. I'm not necessarily a political guy, but I do like patterns. So I'll pay attention to a pattern of a thing or a group of things more so than I will the thing itself, if that makes any sense. But anyway, I noticed a lot of sisters were angry at a lot of brothers because they felt like, we're going to vote with our feet. We don't believe that the candidate in Georgia represents us fully. And so we're going to go with the party who we believe supports our issues. And I think that anytime you vote for somebody, I think that you should be a committee of one, right? Now, if you get a group of people and you guys are thinking along the same line, then that's even better. But for the most part, everybody should be a committee of one, because what's important to you may not necessarily be important to me. But if you vote what's important to you, chances are you'll probably unite with other people who do, and you might change things. Who knows? But anyway, when I look at this election and I look at the outcomes, there's just some stuff though doesn't really make sense. I mean, it makes sense, but it doesn't. Let's talk about Georgia, for instance. And I'm not from Georgia, but I do business in Georgia, but I'm not from Georgia. And but when I look at Georgia, and I look at the two candidates, one is extremely intelligent and knowledgeable, and I believe is the best person for the job. The other person, he doesn't strike me as the most intelligent guy in the world, and so I can only conclude that he's being used for votes. I think that's kind of the general consensus, even of people in this party. We don't care how intelligent he is. We don't care about how many abortions he paid for. And I'm not trying to denigrate. Like, again, I'm not a political person, but I think that that's kind of the premise why they chose him. And so I think if he does win, it'll be a situation where anything that they want, he'll go ahead and he'll side with. And if you put a microphone in front of his face, you probably will have no idea what he's talking about. I don't think he does. But again, that's not to denigrate the guy. He just doesn't come across as the most intelligent guy in the world. Neither am I, but in any event, it seems as though every time I see certain things, it always brings me back to SYSBM or Passport Bros. And I thought about how in the election, the pattern, the talking point pattern basically is, again, this is the most important election of our time. The future of the country hinges on this election or the outcome of this election. And, this election might destroy the nation. Since I've been paying attention to elections, the nation hadn't been destroyed. The outcomes are typically the same, regardless to who you vote for. Now, there are certain issues that can be changed. Maybe that's what they mean by it. I don't know. But the country is kind of still standing. But here's what I noticed. incrementally, and maybe this is something that, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but incrementally, what I've noticed is something that I believe is lying beneath the surface. This place is incrementally being chipped away at. The norms, the values, all of that good stuff, it's being chipped away at. And so it's incumbent upon people who are watching this video to make sure that you have an exit strategy. Now, again, I'm not going to turn into the dark poet, Edgar Allan Poe, and I'm not trying to, you know what, screw it. Yes, I am. This is what I'm saying. I'm going to say this to you, and I'm just going to be, I'm not going to speak euphemistically. I'm going to speak as frank as I possibly can. I believe that the most dangerous thought process for any people is to feel that things will never change, that you're untouchable, things will always be the same, and no foe can come up against you and defeat you. I think that's dangerous. Most people who have found themselves in bad situations, who thought that way, they didn't necessarily prepare. Or if they did, it was little. There's a saying, the day after the battle is more dangerous than the day before the victory. Why? Because when you win so much, you begin to get comfortable and complacent. And the people who don't like you can sneak in and basically kind of up in whatever it is that you got going on. So what am I trying to say? I've said this ad nauseum, and I'm going to say it again today. You may not necessarily be a passport bro. You may not necessarily be into SYSBM, and that's cool. But I think you should get your passport. Why? It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. See, we look at you know, situations that have happened in this country that literally changed the landscape of this country and reformatted the way we do business, the way we carry ourselves, the way we conduct our lives on a day-to-day basis. And we think, man, how did that happen? Like, I can't believe this. Stuff like this only happens in the movies. And again, I'm not being a conspiracy theorist, but I'm saying this. It's not a bad thing to have an exit strategy. And I think the passport gives you a good head start, or a good first start in that process. Some people say, well, okay, well, if I get a passport, then what do I do? If you don't travel, you get your passport, it lasts for 10 years, put it somewhere for safekeeping. Because if it ever get to the point where you begin to see what myself and many like me are seeing who pay attention to patterns, and again, not being a conspiracy theorist, if it ever get to a point where you need to get out of here, you can go other places. Other people will receive you. Now, where you go is up to you, but to not make a decision is to make a decision. And so, yeah, I'll just throw throw my fear, or not even fear. I'll throw my warning or my admonishing into the rhetoric hat. You know, the future of the country is changing. Things are not getting better. Things are getting worse. Excuse me. I have two phones. Things are getting worse, and it's good to have a plan in place just in case you need it. So I didn't really want to say a whole bunch. Excuse my hair. I didn't want to say a whole bunch, but I would just say this. Men are going to continue to vote with our feet. Things are not necessarily going to be as they once were. We're not going to be as acquiescent as we once were. As we once was. And I think that people are going to recognize these people, these men are exercising their options to go elsewhere. And let me just say this, and I don't know why I'm going to go here, but I'm going to go here. Most of the time when people travel, so you hear videos like myself, as I did when I first got into the travel community, you think if you're a heterosexual male, you like women, you think, oh man, when I go over to these countries, I see all these beautiful women. Then when you get to the countries, it's confirmed. There are a whole lot of beautiful women in these countries. But what happens is if you stay long enough, let's just say you stay longer than a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it's not that you ignore the women, but what you do is you begin to incrementally embrace the culture. And that's what travel is all about. Now, I'm not saying that obviously women are a part of travel. There are a lot of beautiful women, which is why some people watch these videos, because if you like women, that you want to go, you want to meet, see beautiful women. However, what makes for a really, really good trip is when you can find a culture that you embrace, when you can find a place that you feel like, you know what, this is going to be my ground zero. And things come full circle. The women might attract you because, men, we're visual. And as we look into the culture, what is the culture? The language, the people, the vibe, the food, the cost of living, everything that makes that place something that speaks to us. And we realize, oh, okay, yeah, the women are still there. But we embrace that culture. And here, I don't know if that's necessarily something that we really pay attention to. Maybe because it's kind of like we've been here long enough and we just kind of like are becoming a little bit fed up with certain things. It's kind of like the people in Orlando. You would think that they go to Disney World every week, and some of them say, man, I hadn't been in Disney World in 5-10 years. Why? Because it's just normal for us. But when you go to other places, you see those people, they embrace their culture. They have fun in their culture. They do things. They create memories. Family is first. It's not a distant fourth. It's first. Not hating on where we are. I'm just saying, I'm looking at the pattern. This is what's happening. You would do well to make sure that you make a first step to protect yourself in some kind of way. I think it's a passport. That's just what I believe. Could be wrong, but that's what I believe. And when you go to these places, you realize it's not all about women. It's the culture. They're there. They're going to be there. And they're not going anywhere. So in any event, I just wanted to kind of ramble, talk a little bit about the election, what I think about it. I think we're going to probably experience more of the same on the surface. It's just what lies beneath the surface that I think that we really need to pay attention to. So in any event, fala com você mais tarde. Talk to you guys later. This is your man Larry, American Brazilian, saying até a breve. É verdade.